Like it? Let's do this. This is the entire node tree for the animation. I'm just going to break it down. The first thing we do is get in the image. I got the image from freepik.com. Once you download it, unzip it, then you'll get something like this. This wasn't there before. All I got were these 4 files. The first thing you need to do is install this font. Go to this link, download it and install it. Restart DaVinci Resolve. You now double click on the AI file. That's the Adobe Illustrator file. Once you double click on it, I have Inkscape on my system. Inkscape is a free vector drawing software. You can use this software to save it as SVG because DaVinci will only import SVG, not Adobe Illustrator files. So once it opens, just click on File, Save As. Then on the Save As type, click on there and click on Plain SVG, then save it. That's how I got the gaming logo.svg. Now to import the SVG file, let's just go to a blank part of the node grid. Zoom in a bit. Click on here. Go to Fusion, import SVG. Then click on the gaming logo.svg. Open. In my own case, I set this to 1080. And OK. And then we have this imported. You notice the group of nodes. So I'm going to double click on this. You'll see we have a very large node tree for the SVG. We need to break this down into the component parts. What we want to do is to have this frame separate, to have this 2 thunderbolts separate, this whole helmet part separate, the gaming separate, then team separate. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 items we need to separate it into. Okay, so let's just reduce this view a bit, zoom in now on this. This first one is unnecessary. The first thing you need to deal with, if you click on this now, you'll see that it's displaying. Let's pull this to the viewer here. Okay, so this first path here is this outer frame. The second path here is the inner frame. Let's copy both of this. Copy that and paste it in the blank part of the node grid. We zoom in so we see exactly what we are doing. Then we bring in this background node and let's paste that here, connect this here and drag this to this viewer. So you see we have the frame, but I want this background to be transparent. So I go to Inspector, change the color to black and drop the alpha to 0. This color, which is fine. This color here, I want to change it to black too. So I click on this, I click on there, okay, and drop the alpha to 0. You see, when I drop the alpha to 0, the mask disappears. So we need to rearrange these nodes. Drag this first path up. You'll notice this path is the outer frame. This second path is the inner frame. So what I'm going to do is disconnect this, disconnect that, and drag this path here, connect this to this path, and connect this to this background. Delete this. This will be the only one we're going to do this kind of manipulation for. And for this second path, which is the smaller frame, I'm just going to go to the paint mode under Inspector and change it from merge to subtract. So we see we have the frame. You can select all of this, right click on it, group it, and rename it to, let's rename it to, let's say FR for frame. That's the first one. So the next one we need to do, you just click on the next path. You see the next path highlights the team, but you notice the text is not displaying properly. So I'm going to go to the first occurrence of text on this node tree. Let's drag it. And you see this text here. Let's double click on it on the inspector. You see it's team, but the font is wrong. I'm just going to click on here and type SQ. And here we have squadder 1. Let's just increase the size so it fits in the frame. Okay, let's say 0.1. That fits in properly. So we're going to copy this out. Copy. Paste that here. Then we copy this one here, which is the frame here. Let's copy the whole of this. Copy. and then we paste that here. Connect this to the text and connect this background to this. If we now drag this to the viewer, you see we have a team. Let's pull this together. As usual, select all of them and group it. Rename it to TM for team. We go down to the next one. This was for the team. This next path, let's zoom out so we see it. Zoom out a bit. So this next one, you go to this path. You see it's the Thunderbolt. And here it's also the Thunderbolt. So I'm going to select these two, copy as the right Thunderbolt, paste. Let's connect the background to the background here. Let's drag this to the left viewer. Let me just zoom out so we see what we have. So you see we have the Thunderbolt, the right Thunderbolt. So I'm just going to select all of this, group. Let's just rename it R bolt. Let's go back to the node tree. So we've done this too. The next one, let's see what we have here. So select the left Thunderbolt, still the left Thunderbolt. So this two, we're going to copy that, copy, paste. This is the most tedious part of this whole thing. It just makes it easier to work with. And let's drag that to the viewer. So we have the left Thunderbolt. Select all of that, group it, right click on it, rename it to L bolt. Okay. So we go here. That's the first part of the helmet. This helmet goes all the way to here. I'm just going to go here and select from here down to down like so, just before this text here. Copy this, go down. Let's go to where this node tree is. Let's just click on somewhere lower here and paste it. So we have this whole node tree here. Let's connect this background to the first node on this thing we just pasted, like so. If we now drag this to the viewer, you see we have the helmet. So let's right click on this, group it, and let's just name it HD, like so. We put that here. So you see we're almost done with this. So we go to here. Let's go to where the text is. We've done this text already for team. So we move to the next one. This one is for gaming. If I select all of this, you see it's just this gaming part. Now the text for gaming, if you zoom in a bit here, you see gaming is under here and it's not the right font. So I'm going to click on this text, double click on this text and change the font to Squad 1. Then we increase the size just to fit into that gaming name. 0.27 seems just fine. Then let's zoom out a bit. If I click on the next path, we see it's still gaming. You can see this thing getting highlighted as I click on the path. Gaming, select all that up to here. Skipping this last node, copy. Go to where we were before and let's click somewhere here, paste. Can connect this background to this node here and we can drag this to the viewer and then we have the gaming logo. Right click on all of this and group. Can just call it GM for game. And we have everything simplified. So for the frame, I said I pull this down here. Now for this frame, I'm going to double click on this, open the component parts. To convert this to 3D, I'm going to click on this drag it to this viewer, select all the points, move to one of them, right click on it, go to polyline, copy, then click on a blank part of the node tree, shift spacebar, S polygon, bring that in, then drag this to the right viewer, right click on it, go to S polyline, then paste. You see that showing here. Ignore where it is at. We'll adjust them subsequently. Now that's for this first one. Now for the second one, I'm going to drag this to the viewer, select all the points, right click on it, S polyline, copy, click on a blank part of the node tree, shift spacebar, S polygon, add, drag this to the viewer, right click on it, go to S polygon polyline and paste. Now between these two, click on the blank part of the node tree, shift spacebar, S boolean, bring that in, connect that to the foreground, and connect that to the background. Click on S boolean on the inspector, the operation, change that to subtract. I drag this to the viewer. You see I have it all wrong. The smaller one should have been the one on the top. So I'm going to click on this, right click on this, swap inputs, and then we have the frame cut out there. So shift spacebar, type extrude, extrude 3D, click add, drag that to the viewer here, and then we have this here, but it's kind of flat. So I'm going to go to extrude 3D, extrude depth, set that to 0.025. Then we go to here 0.025, 0.25. This one should be 0.25 to not too thick. So 0.0025 across board, and you're fine. Now we want the color to be the same color we have here. So I'm just going to click on this background here, copy this background. So let me zoom in so you see what I'm doing. I'm going to click on this background here, copy. Let's paste that here. Then if you hover over this place, you see this is the material input. So I'm going to connect this background to the material input here. And then you see we have the same color we have there. Select all of this, group it. And you can rename this some FM3D. So we have the frame 3D first thing we've done here. Let's close this. We can drag this back up here. Let's do the same thing for team. Let's drag that down here. You'll see that the way we implement this one will be a little different. Double click on it. So we have just one path in here. So I'm going to go click here, drag that to the viewer. We have this path here. Zoom in a bit, select all the points, hover over one of the points, right click on it, put polyline, copy, click on a blank part of the node grid, shift spacebar, S poly, add, drag that to the right viewer, right click on a blank part of it, S polygon, paste. Now we can bring in an extrude 3D, shift spacebar, extrude 3D, drag that to the viewer. We have this. Now for the extrude, we just do the same thing. On that inspector, set the extrude depth to 0.025, bevel depth to 0.025, bevel width to 0.025. And we have this, but we need to have this text on it. So I'm going to, let's say I close this now. I'm going to connect this to an image plane. I'm going to bring an image plane, connect this to the image plane. And then I'm going to pull this back a bit, like so. Bring in a merge 3D node, connect both of them to the merge 3D. Let's drag that to the right viewer. If I zoom out, you'll see that both of them are not aligned. Simple thing we do, we go to the image plane 3D, go to transform, set this to 0.5, set this to 0.5, set this to 0.001. It's still too much. I'm just going to go to, let's say 7. Okay, cool. So if we zoom in on this now, see we have the team. We can now select all of this, group it, and just say, rename it to, just say Team 3D. Cool. So we have the 3D version for the team. For the right Thunderbolt, we do the same thing for the Thunderbolt, but you'll see what we do here. If I double click on the Thunderbolt, what we do, if I drag this path here, nothing really, okay, that's it there. This path here doesn't do anything. So I'm just going to delete this path. Now we go here, drag that to the left viewer. This is the outer part of the Thunderbolt. This is the inner part. What we need is the outer part to extrude it. So I'm just going to make sure it's only this one that I extrude. So let's zoom out a bit, select all the points, right click on it, polyline, copy, click on a blank part of the node grid, ensuring this is still not highlighted. Click on here, shift space bar, S poly, drag this to the right viewer, right click on it, S poly polyline, paste, bring in an extrude 3D, shift space bar, extrude 3D, connect this to that, and if you drag this to the viewer, we have the Thunderbolt there. Same thing here, 0.0025, 0.0025, 0.0025, and we now want to give it the same value as, can close this group here. So I'm going to click on this, bring in an image plane. So it's connected to an image plane. Let's bring in a merge 3D. Let's pull this here. Connect this to the merge 3D. Connect this to this merge 3D, the image plane, and the extrude 3D to the merge 3D. Drag the merge 3D to the right viewer, like we did before. Click on the image plane. Go to Transform tab under Inspector. And set the X value to 0.5, the Y value to 0.5, and then the Z value to 0.007. Select all of these and right click on it, group it, and rename it to Arbol 3D. We have this here, pull that here. Now for the head, if I double click on this, you see we have a bunch of nodes. We can't you can't actually do all of this. So what we do is we pick the first path. You see the first path here. If I drag this to the viewer, see it's the outer frame of the head, and the outer frame is what we need to extrude for the whole of it. So I'm just going to make sure this is all I select. Let's zoom out a bit. Just drag this down a little bit. Okay. Select all the points. Right click on it. S polyline, copy. Click on a blank part of the node tree, shift space bar, S poly. Drag this to the right viewer, right click on it, S polyline, paste, and then bring in extrude 3D. Drag that to the viewer here. We have this. So this whole thing we just expanded, we can close this up like so. And then we have, let's zoom out so we see where everything is. Let's drag this here. Let's zoom in a bit now. To zoom in, just click on the left mouse button and the middle mouse button and drag to the right. To zoom out, you drag to the left. Okay, so now we have this. But we want to use the head like we did before. So we just bring in an image plane, connect this to the image plane, bring a merge 3D, connect the extruded version to the merge 3D, and then the image plane to merge 3D. Now for the extrude, we need to set the values for the extrude 0.0025, for the bevel depth 0.0025, bevel width 0.0025. Coolies. Then we go to image plane, go to transform, the X value to 0.5, the Y value to 0.5, and then the Z value to 0.007. We drag this merge 3D to the viewer, we have the head. So just go here, pull this together, drag this down here. Let's say we select all of this, right click on it, group it, and we rename it to head 3D. Cool. So now we have all of them. We do the same thing for elbow, right? Let's just go here, drag this to the side, drag this here. I'm just going to speed this part up, right? So let's just do it. Now for the gaming logo, you'll see we have all these paths here. I'm just going to drag this to the viewer, select all of this, copy, polyline, copy, that's poly, drag that to the right viewer, right click on it, paste. As for the first one and the second one, drag that to the viewer, select all the so we have all of this together. So what we're going to do is bring in an S merge node, add this, connect all of them to the S merge. We're just going to click on this shift spacebar, extrude 3D. And for the extrude 3D, we set the values as usual, 0.0025, 0.0025, 0.0025. For the depth, width, and bevel depth, bevel width, and extrusion depth. Drag that to the viewer. We have this. So we need to put this gaming logo as an image plane. So I'm going to bring an image plane down here, connect this to the image plane. Let's drag this image plane here. And then I'm going to say I bring this whole thing up here like so. Bring this like that. Then I bring in a merge 3D node. And connect this extrude to image 3D and the image plane to image 3D. Now for this image plane, as usual, go to transform tab under inspector for the image plane. Set the x value to 0.5, the y value to 0.5, and then the z value to 0.007. Enter. And let's drag the merge 3D here. And when we have the gaming logo, let's select all of these and right click on it, group it, rename it to game 3D. And now we have this and that. So all of them have now been put into the 3D space. Now comes the animation, the exciting part of it. Now the first thing we animate is the frame. We bring in a transform 3D. Let's bring this down here. Shift spacebar, transform 3D. This one. Add, connect this to transform 3D. Let's put that in the viewer. Let's move this back, zoom out a bit. So I go to pivot and I set this to say minus 0.15. So if I now rotate it, I see it just comes like so. What I do is at the beginning, I want the animation to start from frame 10. So I'm just going to go here, set the value here to 90, click on this keyframe button, move forward by like 8 frames, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Go here, set this to, let's say, minus 15. Okay, then we move forward, click on this node grid, move forward by like 5 frames, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and set this to 0. So if we play this back, you'll see we have something like this. But it's not smooth. We go to the transform, go to spline editor, click on X rotation, click on zoom to fit, click on this to select all the keyframes, and click on smooth just to make everything smooth. Close the spline editor, let's play that back again, and then we have beautiful. The next thing we need to do, we want the head to come through. So I'm going to pick this head, spacebar, transform 3D. Yep, transform 3D, add that, connect this to transform 3D, pull that up a bit, let's drag that here. So I want this to come through just as this one is finishing. So somewhere around here, just gonna click on, let's say, go here, let's say pick frame 20. This is frame 23. 1, 2. Let's go to frame 25. Go to transform. Now for this one, I want the pivot to be up there. So I'm just going to go to pivot. I'm going to pull the pivot up, like so. Let's set this to 1.15. So it's higher. So go here. This comes in. Bam. Like so. Great. So at the beginning, I want it to be up like so. So it's going to be minus 90. Recall that we've already set this to 25, frame 25. So I'm just going to click on this keyframe. I'm going to move forward by 1, 2, 3, 4, let's say 5 frames. So it's going to be frame 30. Click on this and adjust, let's say 7. Then we move forward by like, click on the node grid, move forward like 1, 2, 3 frames and set this to 0. So we go to the merge node, connect this to the merge node, connect this to the merge node, and let's see what we have. We go to the beginning. Now for this transform, I need to go to spline editor, select everything, and go to smooth it out. Close spline editor, and let's see what we've done. But you see that when this slams in, when this one slams in, it intersects with the frame. So I need the frame to move back as it slams in. So I'm going to go to this one here. I'm going to go to the point where, to this middle keyframe where it moves back and intercepts with this. So I'm just going to go to this transform, and make a keyframe here. Move back by like 1, 2 frames just before it hits, like here. Make a keyframe here. Then move forward 1, 2, then to where it's okay, like so, and make a keyframe here. So between this keyframe here, I want to set this value here to something where it doesn't show, like so. Like so. Let's say we set it to -6. So for this, I'm going to go to spline editor again and select this part and press S to smoothen it, or just use this to smoothen it. Okay, go to close spline editor. Let's play that back. So it creates this slam thing. So you hits. See that? Cool. Bring in the gaming name. And this is the game, right? So we bring in a transform node, transform 3D node, shift spacebar, transform 3D here, add that here, connect this to that. And now for this one, I just wanted to zoom in, right? Just zoom in pretty fast. You see this whole transform here stops here. So I'm just going to move forward by like 1, 2 frames again. So we go to frame 35 and start this one. Now for this, I just wanted to zoom in and all. So I'm just going to go, let's zoom out and see where it is at. Let's bring in a merge 3D. Let's move this forward a bit. Bring in a merge 3D. Connect this to the merge 3D. Connect this whole thing we've done here to this merge 3D. Drag that to the viewer so we see where the game is. So I'm just going to go to here, click the Z value, increase the value like so. Let's say we set it to 1.75. Give it like 1, 2, 3, 4, and then set the value to 0.25. And then after 1, 2, click on back at the node grid, 2 frames. I'm going to set it back to 0. We go to the spline editor, bam, like so, select it, smoothen it, close the spline editor. But what we want to do is also go to the part where it goes behind the frame. If I zoom in, you see it goes behind the frame. That point, I'm going to click on here, shift space bar, bring in the transform 3D in between here. So I'll move both this one and the frame, which is, if you click on it and drag this here, see this is just the frame and the head. So I want to move them back. So what I'll do is I'll just go here. Now you see something I noticed here. See that it kind of overlaps. I don't want it to overlap. I want it to sit on top of each other. So I'm just going to go to this transform. I'm just going to go to the Z value, bring it up a bit so it sits on it like so. So I just want it to sit on it. So it's not just intersecting. Cool. So we go here. So for this transform now, I want this gaming to sit on that. So I'm just going to go here. And for this transform also, I'm going to set the value here to 0.075. So let me see how that looks. So 0.0075. Okay. That's the final value, like the value we set here. Okay. Now for this middle part, this looks like it went really far back. That's too much. So I'm just going to go here, reduce the value like so. Let's say minus 0.1 is fine. Now I'm going to move this back. At this point, I'm going to go to this transform here, set a keyframe here, and make it that this one also moves back like so, like so. Then I'm going to move like this forward like one frame. Click on here, set this to 0, and move back to here. It moves back. Then I'm going to move by one frame forward, like so, until this bounces back. When it bounces back, I'm just going to click on this and set this back to 0. So if we go here and play this, well, for this transform, let's go to spline editor. Hope you are following this. It's kind of crazy. I'm going to zoom to fit, select all the keyframes, smoothen it, and close spline editor. So all I'm just trying to make sure is that they all sync. So I'm looking at the keyframes because one of the best ways I could have actually done this to make you guys see is if I select this transform and this transform here, I go to keyframes and I click zoom to fit, expand both of them. You'll see what I'm trying to do. So what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to make sure that where this one moves in, where it is lower, this also is lower, so they fit together at that point. That's all I'm trying to do when I move the keyframes around. Hope you get it. I really hope you get it. I really want you to do this thing. So we go here and let's turn it around and let's go to the beginning and play it back. So we have that. Okay, so the next thing we want to do, we want the thing to swivel in as this thing hits. So we go here, when it hits, I want when it hits to be when the swivel for the team comes down. So I'm going to go to team. Where is team? I'm going to bring this team and bring forward here. Bring a transform node, transform 3D. Have that in here. Connect that like so. And now for this one, let's connect that to this merge 3D. So I want to swivel it. So I'm just going to go to X value. See it's swiveling around the wrong axis. I'm just going to move the pivot up like so, 385. Okay, cool. That's better. So it just swivels in like so. Cool. So now to make this happen, so we go to, where does this end? This transform here ends here. So where it hits is where we want it to start. So from frame 39, I'm going to click on this. It means at this point, I want this to be like so. So it should be 90. I'm going to click on this keyframe. I'm going to give it 1, 2, 3, 4 frames. Let's say 5 actually. And increase this value. Reduce this value to, let's say we set this to minus 45. So it swings in. Then we go to 1, 2, 3 frames. We set this to swing back, but we reduce it by 10. So it's going to be 35. Then we go to 1, 2, 3 still. Set this to swing back, reduce it by 10, so it becomes minus 25. And then we go by 2 frames, and we set this to reduce by 10 is going to be 15. Then we go by 2 frames again, 2, and set this to minus 5. And then we go to 1, 2, 2 frames again, and set this to 0. So now if we play this back, let's go to this transform, go to spline editor, select all of this and press S on the keyboard or click on the smooth icon. If you now drag this, drag this to the viewer, play from the beginning, you see we have this, that, so, like so. Cool stuff, right? But you notice that at the beginning, this thing is showing already. So what I wanted to happen is just before the transform starts, let's say I click on this to go to the first part where the swivel is about to happen. Just before it happens, I'm going to go to inside of this thing 3D, double click on it to open it. Let's zoom in. Now for the image plane, I'm just going to go here, go to material tab for the image plane under inspector. Keyframe opacity. I'm going to move back 1 frame and drop the opacity to 0. I need to go to the extrude tool and do the same thing for the extrude. I click on extrude, go to material. Let me go to where I set the opacity for this one. I click on here. This one, the opacity is 0 at this point. So I'm going to go to extrude, set the opacity here, keyframe it, set the opacity to 0. Then move forward by 1 frame and set the opacity to 1. Now, if we play this back, you see that it doesn't show. Then let's go here. This appears like so. Now for the thunderbolt, it's left and right thunderbolt. Let me select both of them, move them forward. You don't need this frame, you can disconnect that. Let's just move this up here so it's a little cleaner. Zoom in. I want this thunderbolt to, the right thunderbolt to just, come on, stick this thing in, like so. And this one is impaled us like so. So I'm just going to go here, bring in the transform 3D. Hope you're enjoying this, guys. I know it's kind of long. It's cool stuff. Let's connect this to transform 3D, connect this to this merge 3D. I want the swinging to still be kind of up when this thing sticks in. So I'm just going to go to here, frame 50. I want also to move this up a bit. What we did for this transform, I'm going to get it to 0.0075. So it sits on top of the frame. I want to keyframe the X and Y value. Move forward by like 1, 2, 3, 4 frames. Keyframe this. Let's go back to the previous keyframe. Now I want to now move it. So I want the X value to be somewhere around here. Let's just say 0.75 actually. And then the Y value, let's increase it to something like so. Let's say 0.752. And we use the same timing for this one too. So we will bring in a transform 3D here too. Bring this in, add that, connect the left thunderbolt to that. Now on this particular instance, let's connect this to the merge 3D. I want this to be keyframed at this point. Move forward by 1, 2, 3, 4 frames. Select that. And then we go back to the first keyframe. I want this to be minus 0.75. And this one to be 0.75. So I'm just going to go to this, go to spline editor, select all of this, right click on it, go to ease, go to in cubic, close spline editor, select this one, do the same thing for this one too. Select all of this, right click on it, ease in cubic. And let's see what we have done. Go to the beginning, play it back. Wow. I want a situation that when it hits, right, it shakes this whole frame. So I'm going to bring in a merge 3D node. Connect this transform 3Ds to this. and connect this Mesh 3D to this Mesh 3D and disconnect them, this Thunderbolt from that. What's happening here? Okay, so that way I can put a transform here that shakes this whole thing. So I'm just going to click on here, shift space bar, bring it transform 3D, add that in here. So when they hit, this whole thing vibrates. I'm going to go to here and go to where it actually hits. This is where they hit at this point. Where it hits, I'm going to start to shake on this. So I want the shake to affect this whole frame, the X and Y value, just shake it a little bit. So I'm going to right click on this, modify with shake, and then the Y value with shake. So for each of them, I'm just going to go here. I'm going to go to this. And so I'm just going to go here and set this to 0.1. And then the X offset, I'm just going to set it to 0 to 0.1. So it just shakes just a little bit. And I want the smoothness to be low. Okay. And so we go here, we set the keyframe on that. We go back one frame, set the keyframe on that, and then we go forward by about, let's say 10 frames. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 frames. Set a keyframe here and drop this to 0. Go to this one and drop the value here to 0. Okay, so if we go here and play this, so we have this, there's a mistake I made, yeah. So I'm going to go here. This is supposed to start where this ends, where it hits. So I'm going to go to the shake. Sorry, for this shake, I need to go to modifiers. Here, I'm going to move back one frame, and this value should be 0. Let's go back to here. This value should be 0. So it doesn't shake up onto here until the thunderbolt hits it. And then the shake is a little too much. So I'm just going to go to where the shake is, 0.05, 0.05. So we go here, obviously where it hits. So I want the shake to actually apply to all of them. I don't want the lighting to just be there. So I'm just going to go back and arrange the node tree accordingly. I'm going to hold shift and drag this out of here. In fact, I don't need this merge anymore. Just connect this directly to here, connect this directly to here, bring in this transform node, connect this to the transform 3D node, and we go here. And if we play this back, see, like so, I need to go to this transform. I don't like something about this. Cool, it takes it. So I'm going to go to Y value, set this to minus. So the reason why I'm setting it to minus because I want when the thing hits to push this thing down. So I'm just going to go here. Like so. That's it. That's it. So when it hits, it kind of pushes it down. That's what I'm saying. Wow. Like so. All right, guys, that's it. I spent a lot of time on this, almost an hour describing this thing. Now we have basically all the animation. We put it on the background. Bring the renderer 3D node, connect this to the renderer 3D node, drag this to the viewer. Nothing is showing. Let's bring in a transform 3D. Transform 3D, add that in here. Let's just position things. Let's just set this to, let's say 1.321. And let's just drag this down. Drag this to the left. Let's zoom out a bit. Let's set it to minus 0.5. Set the X value to minus 0.5. And let's just set this to 0.75. So we have that centered on there. Go to renderer 3D, set the renderer to hardware renderer. We don't need lighting for what we want to do here. Let's just give it a background. Let's bring in a background node, set this to gradient, set the first color, pick this dark blue color we have here. And then same here too, we pick the same dark blue color. But for the dark blue color, we pick a brighter shade, slightly brighter shade of it. Let's see what we've done here. But we changed the gradient type to radial. And we change the start value for the X to 0.5. So it starts from the center. But I want the lighter shade to be at the center. So I just drag this here and drag this across and drag this like so. And then we have soft gradient. Now we need to add a bit of film grain on this because by the time you export this, it may have bands. So I'm just going to click on here, shift space bar, film, pick film grain, add, drag that here, set the size to 0.1, connect this to render 3D, let's swap inputs. So this is at the background and this is at the foreground, drag that to the viewer, and then we're good to go. Let's say we make a single viewer, fit, drag this down, and let's go to the beginning and play it. Then we have this. You see there's a mistake here. I need this. This is moving back up too quickly. The frame is moving back up too quickly. So I'm just going to go to the frame, to the zoom we have here. Let me drag this up. Remember we did this in here. So I'm going to go here. This moves in too quickly. So I'm just going to go to the keyframe for this transform here. Go to keyframes for it and drag this up like so. Let's see, we drag. Oops, Control Z, that's the wrong thing. This is the one I'm supposed to drag. This keyframe here. I'm just going to drag this keyframe here like so. So if we move, let me just drag this down so we see what we're doing. Move this forward. We hit. Good. Doesn't overlap again. So we open that. Now we need to put a bit of lightning on this thing. To put lightning on it, we're going to go to where this hits. So this hits around here. This lightning bolts, they hit around there. Now for the lightning bolts, I may need to separate them because I want the movement to be blurred. So I'm going to go to this, disconnect this two. So this renderer 3D is on its own. And I bring these ones up a bit. I bring the renderer 3D down here. I use the same transform I have here. So I copy this, paste it in here, connect that here. That should be renderer 3D, sorry. Connect this to renderer 3D. Now bring a merge 3D node. Connect both of them up here. Connect this to transform 3D. Now for this renderer 3D, I'm just going to go here. I'm going to go to the output for this renderer 3D and click on vector. I'm going to bring in, I'm going to press shift space bar, drag this up here, shift space bar, bring in a vector motion blur, this node here, add that here, and then I'm just going to leave it as it is here and drag that here. So if we go here and we see that, so you see how the blur is better. So I'm going to merge this on top of this renderer 3D, that bring a merge 3D like so, and connect this to the foreground. So we have that going, so we play back. Now the shape is not applying to this. I'm going to have to bring in that transform 3D we used to shake it. This one. So I'm going to copy this, and let's see, we bring this forward like so. Click on here, Control Shift V, paste that in here. So when we play it back, you see it shakes like so. Great. Now when it hits, when this things hit, it hits around here. I want lightning to show. So to create lightning, I just click on this, drag or fastener. Let's drag that to the viewer. Let's increase the detail a whole lot. Increase the contrast a wee bit. Go to color, increase the alpha like so. Then click on here to discontinuous. And let's increase the scale a little bit like so. So what we want to do is if we go to the dual viewer, sorry, I drag this here. I want to draw a line for each of the lightning bolts. So I'm just going to go here, bring in a rectangle mask node. Saying just drop this width to something like so. Let's say 0.005. So it's essentially like a line. And I put that into a background node, change this to maybe like something like light blue, very light blue, like so. So if you drag this to the viewer, we have this. But I want it to be tilted at an angle. So let's go to the rectangle mask. I'm going to give it an angle of 35. So if we go to the final thing, see the line is okay enough. So I'm just going to move it. I'm seeing an outline of the mask here, so I'm just going to move it so that it sits on the left thunderbolt. But I want to now displace this with the fast noise. So I'm just going to go here, drag this up, bring in a displace node, shift spacebar displace, and add that in here. Connect the fast noise to the green input and then the background to the orange or yellow input. Drag that to the viewer. We already have some form of displacement. We go to XY, drag the X offset to 0 to the leftmost part, the Y offset down. This tip is from Page. Thanks to Page. This whole lightning setup is also from JB Fan. So I'm just going to go to Y refraction and X refraction. Let's go to X refraction. I'm going to increase that like so. Then Y refraction like so. Let's just make it like that. So I'm going to go to the fast noise and increase the seed rate to 0.4. And then if we play this back, you'll see we have something kind of has this lightning thing. We'll make it better. Select all of these here. And let's connect that to this. Let me drag this up a bit so we see what we are doing. Move this like so, and we drag this to the viewer. So you see it's on top of that. But it looks like the Y value is kind of sticking out a little too much. So I'm just going to go to this place like something like this. Okay, so we set this to like so. Then we have that for the first one. So we just do a copy of all of this. Copy, paste. And then for this one, I just make sure that I set this to this angle to the other side like so. So it's minus 35. And we go to fast noise. Let's just change the C. Let's go to displays. Pick out leave the displays the way it is. Connect that here. And then we have this. Let's go to this displays. I want the X value to be just a little less. Okay. Now, instead of joining all of them here, so what I'm going to do, because I want to put a glow on the lightning, I'm going to bring in a merge node, connect both of them to the merge node. Let's disconnect them from here. Then from this merge node, I'm going to bring in a soft glow node. So pull them up a bit. Let's drag that here. So the soft glow node is doing wonders already. So the default value, I leave it as it is. Then I copy this soft glow node. I paste it again. And for this soft glow node, I just increase the glow size. Let's say we set it to 50. Then I copy the soft glow node again. And I paste it. Let's click on this and paste it. Then this I increase the glow size to 100. Connect this here. Delete this. So if we drag this to the viewer, so we have this, but it's kind of on this side, and I don't want it to be, if we play this back, you see it's just on that side, so I need to move them all. Okay, I'm just going to go to this merge. Let's just move this so it sits perfectly on the graphic. And I now want this to not show until the thing hits. So I'm going to go to, well, transform for this. So it hits here. This is where I want it to show. So I'm going to go to this merge. Instead of using this blend, I'm just going to go here and make it a little more interesting, right? So when it hits, I want to bring in a rectangle mask, increase the height so it covers the whole thing. I want to bring in a transform node. Let's connect this to the transform node and connect the transform node to the mask input of this merge. So I want to show, this is where it hits, right? Because this is where they hit, I want this rectangle mask. I want this transform to move this rectangle mask into view. So I don't think I should add this here. So I'm just going to disconnect this because it's affecting the glow. If you look at it, affecting the glow, I don't want anything to affect the glow. So let's move it down here, disconnect this. Let's move this up here. Let's go to here. Let's move all of this up. Bring in a matte control node. Put that in here, it's connected. Then right click on this, drop this on the matte control node, click on garbage matte. Then click on the matte control node, expand garbage matte, click on invert. Now I want a situation where at this point, this rectangle mask is to be centered like so. Now I want this transform to move. I want this transform to move the rectangle mask into place when it hits here. So I'm just going to go here, click on the center X value here. So I want this to be up like that, up here like so. Then I'm going to just click on 1, 2 frames. Then I want this to drop down pretty fast to 0.5. Then I want this to last for the duration of the shake. So you keep shaking up onto here. So here, I want this to click on here and 1, 2, 3 frames, then move it back up so it disappears. So if we go here and play this back, click on here and see that. Then it moves up pretty quickly. So I don't want it to move up that quickly. So I'm just going to go to keyframes, expand this, zoom to fit. Let's drag this to expand this a bit. Click on here, reduce it a bit. So I want this to be a little more extended. So I'm just going to drag it forward a bit. So let's see how it looks. Aha, better. See that? So it kind of disappears into the Thunderbolt. And that is it, guys. We're done. Let's play the whole thing, single viewer. Let's expand this. And that is it. It's a long one. Then you add sound effects and bam, you've got a gaming logo animation. One other thing I've not done, if I go back here, things like so, wow, like so. Beautiful stuff. You can do a light sweep thing. The light sweep thing is pretty easy to do. Just go here, bring in the brightness contrast node, connect this to the brightness contrast node. Let's go here. Let's go to this rectangle mask. Let's make it like so, make it that slim. Let's make it angle, let's make it 35. Maybe minus 35. Let's increase the width a bit, like so. Let's increase the height. And then let's bring in a transform node, like so. Connect this to the transform node, and then connect the transform node to the mask input of the brightness contrast node. For the brightness contrast node, you can just increase the gain to 5. And this transform now, you can just make it that, say around here. Click on this, keyframe this, the X value, drop it like so. And then let's go to, let's say frame 120 and increase that like so. So if we now the viewer, we go here. Now I want this not to affect the background because right now you see it's affecting the background. So I'm going to, first things first, the height of the mask, and let's increase to 1.5. And then I'm going to make sure this brightness contrast node, let's disconnect it from here. I want to connect it to only the logo without the background. So before the background, I'm just going to move this background forward, connect this to the brightness contrast node, and connect the brightness contrast node to this. So we have that in here. So it's affecting only this graphic and not the background. So if I go to here, drag this to the viewer, play this back, you see that. So we have that. And that's it, guys. We're done. Hope you got one or two things from this one. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the output the most. I was fun doing this one. See you on the next one. Cheers, guys.